Hello guys, welcome to all of you on my YouTube channel Dickens Vision. In the previous class, we have discussed, one of the most famous Victorian author, Matthew Arnold. Yes, he is the Matthew Arnold who is called the sage poet of Victorian society, Victorian age, because in his famous poems like Thyrsis, Scholar Gypsy, The Forsaken Merman, and Dover Beach, etc., he has represented the true picture of Victorian society. The Victorian society, which has now, divided into a breach, which were, on one hand side, there were the peoples who were following the religion. On another hand side, there were the people who had started doubting on this phenomena. After the publication of Charles Darwin's Origin of Species, it shattered away, it crumbled away all the beliefs that human beings were made by God. And it represented a scientific phenomena where Charles Darwin told that present or current human beings is the outcome of a gradual evolution. Matthew Arnold seems very sad, very pessimistic in his poems, because in all his poems, he represents the society which were now suffering from the situation of doubt, dispute, and distraction. Doubt, dispute, and distraction. In his famous poem, Memorial Verses, he has written this line. This is the poem where he has praised, William Wordsworth a lot. As Matthew Arnold works as a bridge between Romantic age and Victorian age, so he has some semblance of nature too in his poems. If you ever see Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach, then there you will get some elements of romantic poetry too, because he represented nature in a very profound way in this poem. He has represented sea, he has represented the English Channel, he has represented the situation of moon and other natural objects. And finally in the poem, he says that love, let us be true. Not even his poems, but Matthew Arnold is known for his famous criticism also. His critique, like the study of poetry, culture and anarchy, etc., remarked him, one of the most famous critics of English literature, and that's why he is called the father of modern English criticism. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about Charles Dickens. Yes, he is the Charles Dickens of whom we say that, he is the most representative novelist of Victorian age, because in his novels like David Copperfield, in his novel Great Expectation, A Tale of Two Cities, he represented the true picture of Victorian people. The famous characteristics of Victorian age like doubt, dispute, distraction, slum, child labor, rapid industrialization, migration towards urban areas, all these phenomena were represented by Charles Dickens in a very profound manner in his novels. Not even this, he has represented the personal elements in his novels too. How his famous novel David Copperfield is called the autobiography of Charles Dickens, because in this novel we get some elements related to his personal life, like there is a character of Mr. Micawber, who had to go in prison because of his mounting debts, and this was the situation of Dickens's father too. He also had to go in prison because of his debts. And his novels, we get, some very faithful maid also. And here, Peggotty is a symbol of those women. Charles Dickens was very fond of ravens, and even he kept them after their death too. Charles Dickens, the pseudonym of Charles Dickens is Boz. What's the pseudonym of Charles Dickens? It is Boz, B-O-Z, Boz. And his first collection, Sketches by Boz, appeared with the same name. That's why, we have a pseudonym of Charles Dickens, that is Boz. So let's come and see that what are the famous characteristics of Dickens's novels, and in addition to it, what are the personal elements that have been depicted by Charles Dickens in his novels. You see here, Charles Dickens, and what is Boz? Boz is his pseudonym. Boz is his pseudonym. Charles Dickens was born on February 1812 in Portsmouth, which is a place. It is Portsmouth. The city is located in Hampshire, where it is in Hampshire, England, and is about 70 miles southwest of London. And it is 70 miles southwest of London. What else? His father, John Dickens. His father, what is the name of his father? He is John Dickens, was a clerk in a payroll office of the Navy. Where? In a payroll office of Navy. John Dickens was the inspiration for the character of Mr. Micawber. Yes, the thing I have told you just that Mr. Micawber in David Copperfield is the representation of his own father, because he also is going towards to prison because of his debts. His mother, Elizabeth Barrow, Dickens inspired the characters of Mrs. Nickleby in Nicholas Nickleby and Mrs. Micawber in David Copperfield. That how a woman, is nursing many children. Mrs. Micawber, we see that she had many children and she had to nourish them alone because, her husband is in prison. So this was the situation of Charles Dickens's mother also, because Charles Dickens was also, many brother and sisters. When Charles was just 4 months old, the family moved to a smaller home to cut costs because of his mounting debts. Despite the family's financial struggle, young Charles dreamed of becoming a gentleman, and his characteristic, or we can say his dream, has been portrayed in the novel Great Expectations. Great Expectations. In 1824, when he was 12, it looked like his dreams would never come true. And this is the situation of Pip also in the novel Great Expectations. He also, has many dreams, but later in his life, he realizes that his some dreams are not, or we can say never, going to be fulfilled. He loves a girl, Stella, but Stella has been, trained by her mother to break the hearts of men. And what else? That year, the family sent Charles to work in a blacking or shoe polish factory. So here we see that David Copperfield, in the novel, David Copperfield has to work in a wine factory. So it is also, a personal element of Charles Dickens that has been depicted by him in the novel. Charles was deeply marked by these experiences. He rarely spoke of that time of his life. John Dickens was able to come to an agreement with his creditors within a few months of his imprisonment. Shortly after that, he ended his son's employment at the blacking factory and enrolled him in Wellington House. Remember, Wellington House Academy instead. And David Copperfield was also, enrolled in a school that was run by Dr. Strong. And who helped him? It was his aunt Betsy Trotwood, who helped David to become a gentleman. See here, In May of 1827, Dickens left Wellington House Academy and entered the workforce as a law clerk. So this is his first employment. He became a law clerk at the firm of Ellis and Blackmore. In 1829, he changed careers and became a court stenographer. To qualify for that position, Dickens had to learn the Gurney system of shorthand writing. Shorthand writing that is still popular in India too. In 1831, he became a shorthand reporter with the Mirror of Parliament. Sometimes Dickens is compared to Aravind Adiga of India too. Yes, who is Aravind Adiga? Aravind Adiga is the writer who got the Man Booker Prize of the year 2008 and for his novel The White Tiger. What's the name of the novel? The White Tiger. This is a novel that represents the situation of India, that where a person always is discriminated on the basis of first his caste and second his on the basis of his employment. So here is the protagonist Balram Halwai. The tiger, the white tiger also has been adapted in cinematography. Netflix has made a very popular web series by this same name. Here is the character Balram Halwai, who is writing letters to Wen Jiabao, the Prime Minister of China. Wen Jiabao is visiting India, and when he listens this, he sits and starts writing letters. Yes, this novel is an epistolary novel. The White Tiger is an epistolary novel, and he is writing letters and wants to tell the story of India to Wen Jiabao. He writes that this novel begins with, neither you know English nor do I, but there are some things which only can be said in English. He says that you will look for India in magazines, newspapers and in other articles, but that would be a kind of failure. That would be a futile search. I will show you the real India. And he represents the people of India in a rooster coop. In a rooster coop. What is a rooster coop? Rooster coop is a situation where one rooster is seeing, his friend dying and waiting his own turn, that when will be the time when he is also going to die. He can't do anything to save himself from this situation. So the situation of Indian people is also similar to that. But Balram Halwai, has the ability to revolt. He kills his own master, Ashok Sharma, and becomes, and he adopts his even name too, and establishes a company where, according to Balram Halwai, has no any discrimination on the basis of, religion, caste and gender. He writes that people in India are waiting that the war of their freedom will be occur in Himalayas or any other side. It will occur in the war between India and Pakistan or India and China. No, that never, it will never happen. Every man must make his own Banaras. Yes, a very famous line of this novel that I always remember. Every man must make his own Banaras. If you want to become a prosperous man, if you want to become a good man in this life, then it is you who is going to help you. Nobody else can do this. This is a very famous novel. If you ever get the opportunity, then please try to read it. And the situations depicted by Aravind Adiga in this novel is similar to Charles Dickens' novels. He also represents the same situation of, Victorian people in everywhere. So see here, the publication gave accounts of the activity in the House of Commons and the House of Lords. In December 1833, Charles Dickens' first literary effort was published. It was a sketch or essay entitled A Dinner at Poplar Walk. A Dinner at Poplar Walk. Other sketches soon followed. In 1834, Dickens met Catherine Hogarth. The woman who would become his wife. They became engaged in 1835 and were married in April of 1836. In January of 1837, the first of their 10 children was born. So Charles Dickens had 10 children. The Pickwick Papers was the first novel of Charles Dickens. It was the first novel where Dickens, wrote his own name. Right? It was published in monthly installments from March of 1836 until November 1837. His all novels almost were serialized, either in a magazine or anywhere else. In June of 1837, something happened that only occurred on Dickens's career. He missed a deadline. He was writing 2 serialized novels at once, The Pickwick Papers and Oliver Twist. However, in June of 1837, there was no Pickwick, right? There was no Oliver Twist. Instead, there was a funeral. A sad thing occurred in Dickens's life. And what it is? Dickens's sister-in-law. Mary Hogarth, passed away in Dickens's arms. So we know, very painful situation of Dickens's life, that his sister-in-law passed away in Dickens's arm. The next day, Dickens would relive this sad incident in his life while writing The Old Curiosity Shop. Next, Nicholas Nickleby. The third novel of Charles Dickens was published in installments starting in 1838. One of Dickens's goals in writing Nicholas Nickleby was to expose the ugly truth about Yorkshire boarding schools. The situation of schools in Victorian age was also very bad. And we have, depiction of such elements in his novel David Copperfield, where there is a school which is run by Mr. Creakle. And the name of his school is, Salem House. Mr. Tunge is the attendant of Mr. Creakle, and he always, beats children badly with his stick. So here also we see that he is depicting boarding schools and criticizing them at once. In 1841, Charles and Catherine traveled to Scotland, and Barn by Rudge was published in 1841. His David Copperfield, began to run 1849 and it was finished in 1850. So what is the date? 1849 to 50. Now he started the periodical Household Words in March 1850. Remember this? In 1857, Dickens met the woman who was to be his companion until his death, and she was Ellen Ternan. Charles Dickens founded the weekly publication All the Year Round. What's the name? All the Year Round. The first novel serialized in All the Year Round was A Tale of Two Cities. Remember, A Tale of Two Cities. And this is his historical novel where he depicts two cities. One is Paris and another is London. And it describes the situation of French Revolution. Publication of Great Expectations. Yes, it also has been adapted in cinematography, and the movie Fitur has been made on this. Great Expectations began in 1860. It was also serialized in All the Year Round. In October of 1869 at Gad's Hill Place, Dickens began, on work on the Mystery of Edwin Drood. He would never finish it. This is his unfinished novel. Remember this. On June 9, 1870, Dickens died at Gad's Hill Place, and he could not complete it because of his death. His works, first of all, is Sketches by Boz. Sketches by Boz. Now we are going to start the detailed study of his work. And one, the first among them is Sketches by Boz. And from here we get his pseudonym, his pen name, that is called Boz. 1836, Dickens's first short pieces and are gathered in this collection, published when he was 24 to highly favorable reviews. The 60 sketches, remember how many there are? 60. It can be asked in any exam. The 60 sketches, subtitled Illustrative of Everyday Life and Everyday People. This is the subtitle of this sketch. So remember this. It can be asked in exam. Center on London, where the narrator projects theatres and streets, imparting his astute observation that it represents that Charles Dickens is an astute. What astute? Observation. He is observing all the things very minutely, and he seems very very, we can say, popular, or we can say experienced person who is representing all these situations. Next is the Pickwick Papers, and it started in April 1836 and serialized till November 1837. So see here, Oliver Twist, The Adventures of Oliver Twist, February 1837 to April 1839. Nicholas Nickleby, The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. These are the subtitles. Oliver Twist, subtitle is The Adventures of Oliver Twist. Nicholas Nickleby, The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. It started, serializing in April 1838 and run till October 39. Now we have The Old Curiosity Shop, April 1840 to November 1841. David Copperfield, it has a very long subtitle, and what it is: the personal history, adventures, experience and observation of David Copperfield, the younger of Blunderstone Rockery. It was serialized from May 1849 to November 1850. Next, Bleak House, March 1852 to September 1853. Hard times for these times. This is the subtitle of the novel. Remember, hard times for these times, and it was serialized from 1st April 1854 to 12 August 1854. Little Dorrit, December 1855 to June 1857. A Tale of Two Cities, 30 April 1859 to 26 November 1859. Great Expectations, 1st December 1860 to 3rd August 1861. Our Mutual Friend, May 1864 to November 1865. Now we are coming to detailed study of his popular works, and the first among which I have chosen is The Pickwick Papers. What it is? The name of this novel is The Pickwick Papers. The posthumous papers of the Pickwick Club. The posthumous papers of the Pickwick Club, popularly known as the Pickwick Papers. This is the subtitle of this. The posthumous papers of the Pickwick Club, popularly known as the Pickwick Papers, was the first novel of Charles Dickens. So it was the first novel of Charles Dickens. It is a sequence of loosely related adventures. Okay, the main character of the novel is Samuel Pickwick. He is the protagonist of this novel. Squire, another character who is kind and wealthy older gentleman. He is also a founder and president of the Pickwick Club. He is the founder of Pickwick Club, who suggests that he and other three men should make journeys to places away from London and report on their findings to the other members of the club. So how many members are there? There are 3 members, and they all devises that they should visit on different places, and after returning they have to narrate their experiences to each other. In the 10th chapter of the novel, an audience will come across a lot of humor because the comic Cockney Sam Weller, comic Cockney Sam Weller makes his advent. So this was his first novel. Now we proceed towards next, and it is Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist. So Oliver Twist. It was Charles Dickens' second novel. Second novel. The other name of the Oliver Twist is The Paris Boys Progress. Remember the subtitle? The Paris Boys Progress. It was first published as a serial in between 1837 to 1839. The story is all about Oliver Twist, Oliver Twist, who is an orphan, and born in a workhouse. He is then sold into an apprenticeship. Remember, he is sold in an apprenticeship with an undertaker. Oliver then meets the Artful Dodger, after he escapes to London. Artful Dodger is a member of a gang of juvenile pickpockets. Yes, novel, satirizes, criticizes one of the major problems of Victorian society, and it was, the condition of pickpocketing, which is led by Fagin. Fagin is the leader of, such gangs. So remember the word Fagin. It may be asked that which is the novel where the character Fagin appears. Now we have David Copperfield. David Copperfield is his, what we can say, autobiographical novel. All the characteristics that, made Charles Dickens popular author, or we can say an author, has been represented by Charles Dickens here in this novel. Dickens's classic autobiographical novel describes a young man's rise in the world. David Copperfield, the narrator, is orphaned at a tender age and raised first by his brutal stepfather, whose name is Edward Murdstone. Who halts his schooling and sends him to work in a factory. After the death of, David's mother, he is sent to work in a wine factory. Then by a kindly aunt, Betsy Trotwood, and she was the lady who, supported David to become a gentleman. He trains for a career in law, but eventually becomes a journalist and author. An ill-advised marriage with Dora Spenlow, remember the character Dora Spenlow, brings him considerable unhappiness, but not long after his wife's death, he is reunited with his childhood sweetheart, Agnes Wickfield. Agnes Wickfield is, the daughter of Mr. Strong, Dr. Strong, and they lived, together since their childhood. So there is a very, good bonding between David Copperfield and Agnes. His first marriage with Dora with just a kind of infatuation, but with Agnes, Wickfield, this life, run happily. A sprawling portrait of life in Victorian England. David Copperfield is perhaps Dickens's most popular work, and it contains many of the characters. Mr. Micawber is the person who is symbolizing his father. Uriah Heep is the villain. Uriah Heep is the villain of this novel. If I ever get the opportunity, then I will, teach you this novel in isolation. I will make a single video on this novel, but because here we have to teach many novels, so I have given you just a little summary on these novels. Steerforth and Little Emily, they all are his friends who gave Dickens his reputation as the finest literary portraits of his age. Some other characters are also in this novel, and who they are? Mr. Dick हैं, और वहां पर और भी कई सारे हैं. मिस्टर डिक हो गए, और भी है, मैं आपको बताता रहूंगा. हाँ, तो चलते हैं हिज नेक्स्ट नॉवेल ब्लीक हाउस. यस, मिस्टर डिक एंड वन आई एम फॉरगेटिंग, सॉरी, इज पेगटी. Peggotty is a, his maid, and it's a very loyal maid. Peggotty is like a mother figure for David Copperfield. Right? Peggotty. Bleak House. The English legal system is the main object of Dickens' satire. Dickens' satire, because Dickens was also trained as law clerk. That's why, he got the material to write this novel in Bleak House, perhaps the first legal thriller, which centers on the interminable case of Jandes vs. Jandes. Remember this, as it makes a tortuous way over the generations through the court of chancery. Remember this. Now, A Tale of Two Cities. A Tale of Two Cities, published in 1859, and what it is a historical novel. Historical novel. It is set in London and Paris, which are the two cities that are depicted in this novel. So these are London and Paris. Remember, before and during the time of French Revolution. Before and during the time of French Revolution that occurred in 1789. The novel is all about French Dr. Manette. Remember the name? Dr. Manette and his daughter Lucy. Daughter Lucy. He was in prison for 18 years. How many years? 18 years. And his daughter got married to a person who caused her father's imprisonment. Remember, it's a very interesting story. And if you ever get opportunity, then read this. The story is set against the conditions that caused the French Revolution and the reign of terror. A Tale of Two Cities. Now we have, another great novel of Charles Dickens, and that is Great Expectations. The famous Bollywood movie Fitur. Fitur has been made on this novel. The tale of the orphan Pip. Orphan Pip. Pip is the boy who lives with his brother-in-law and his sister. His sister is very arrogant, but his, brother-in-law is very meek and humble. He always supports Pip. He considers Pip as, his son. And his mysterious benefactor, who he is, Magwitch. Magwitch is his mysterious benefactor because, Pip one day gave him some food and wine. What else? Provides a grotesque but pointed comedy, considered by many to be Dickens's best novel. Some considers this novel as the best novel of Dickens. It is the story of a young man who rises out of a rough, deprived childhood to a life in which his expectations, or some of them, are fulfilled. First of all, Pip does not have any expectation in life. He just wanted to become the apprentice of his brother-in-law. But later, he develops some and, fails also. Very soon in his life, his expectations became crumbling when he fell in love with a girl who has always been trained to break the hearts of men. The novel is full of fascinating scenes and characters, among them the cold-hearted Stella. Yes, it may be asked somewhere that who is the girl that is mentioned as cold-hearted in the novel. So this is Stella, the vengeful and doughty Miss Havisham. Miss Havisham, is his mother, but Miss Havisham always remains in a bridal dress. Why? Because she was in bride, and the person with whom she had to marry, run away from there. And from then, Miss Havisham has, made an idea, developed an idea that what men always cheat. That's why she has trained his daughter. She's not her real daughter. Actually, Stella is the daughter of Magwitch. But she has been nourished by Miss Havisham, and she has trained her that you have to break the hearts of boys. Joe Gregory. Joe Gregory is the brother-in-law of Pip, the noble blacksmith, the ever lovable, Herbert Pocket, and of course Magwitch. Magwitch is his benefactor, the grotesque and terrifying but ultimately benevolent convict. one of Dickens's most vital creations. Pip's fortunes rise and fall. Pip's fortunes rise and fall, and he slowly gains in wisdom, learning to value what is important and to abandon most of his illusions. So this was all about Charles Dickens. I have told you, a brief summary of his novels. I have told you about David Copperfield. I have told you about Great Expectations and many other novels. I want to tell you a short story of David Copperfield. I want to tell you because Professor N.S. Gaur ma'am taught us this novel in a very profound way. She taught it in a so, much refined style that even she started crying when she taught us. David Copperfield, the story of a very, small boy who is very innocent. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. So the famous line, through which this novel begins are, whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life or that station will be held by anybody else, these pages must show. Yes, there is the old David who is telling his story now. He is telling you that what were the circumstances, what were the situations that compelled him to write all these things, how he was born, how his mother died. तो बताना शुरू करता है कि उसका जन्म एक ऐसी जगह पर हुआ था जहां पर वो एक पॉस्थुमस चाइल्ड है। ऐसा बच्चा है, पॉस्थुमस चाइल्ड है वो, यानी उसका जन्म उसके पिता के डेथ के बाद हुआ है। वो एक पॉस्थुमस चाइल्ड है। और डेविड बेचारा इस समय क्या होता है, डेविड जो है वो रहना स्टार्ट कर रहा है। अब वो देख रहा है जैसे ही बड़ा हुआ वो तो देख रहा है कि उसकी जो माँ है, क्या उसने क्या किया हुआ है, उसने एक इंसान मर्डस्टोन से, मर्डस्टोन, डिकेंस की ये भी खासियत है कि वो क्या करते हैं, जिस तरीके से इंसान का कैरेक्टर होता है, जिस तरीके से इंसान का कैरेक्टर होता है उसी तरीके से वो उसका नाम भी रखते हैं। मर्डस्टोन क्या था, वो दिल से वास्तव में एक ऐसा आदमी था जो हमेशा से, जिसका रवैया था कि वो डेविड को पीटता था, ठीक है, छड़ी से, ठीक है। और इस वजह से क्या किया गया है, डिकेंस ने उसका नाम क्या मर्डस्टोन रखा हुआ है। एक तो क्या है कि वो उसका स्टेपफादर है और दूसरी तरफ वो उसको मार रहा है क्योंकि वो उसका सही का बच्चा नहीं है। अब डेविड कॉपरफील्ड वहां पर रह रहा है और ठीक है, उसकी मां जिसका नाम क्या है, क्लारा, क्या नाम उसकी मां का, क्लारा, वो बहुत ही इनोसेंट बच्ची है, इनोसेंट बच्ची है। अच्छा, इसके पहले एक छोटी सी घटना हो चुकी है, मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं। हुआ ये है कि जो क्लारा है, इनके जो हस्बैंड हैं, ठीक है, इनके हस्बैंड की एक सिस्टर हैं जिनका नाम क्या है, बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड, बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड। और होता यह है कि बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड को हमेशा से एक बेटी चाहिए थी। क्या चाहिए थी, बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड को हमेशा से एक बेटी चाहिए थी। तो बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड ने क्या किया है, जब डेविड का जन्म होने वाला है तो वहीं पर हैं, लेकिन जैसे उनको यह पता चलता है कि वहां पर एक बेटी नहीं बल्कि क्या है, बेटी ने जन्म लिया, तो वहीं से वो पैर पटक करके भागती हैं और उसके बाद दोबारा वो कभी भी इस जगह पर नहीं आती हैं। एक तो पहली बात ये कि क्लारा, ठीक है, वो उनकी क्या है, उनके भाई की वाइफ है, लेकिन अब उसने शादी कर ली क्योंकि एक ऐसे इंसान से, मर्डस्टोन से, जो उसका कोई सगा नहीं है। इस वजह से वहां पे बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड दोबारा नहीं आती हैं। अब ये होता है कि यहां पर ये लोग रहने लगते हैं, क्या रहते हैं, लेकिन यहां पर मिस्टर मर्डस्टोन जो हैं, उनका बिहेवियर, क्योंकि वो एक स्टेप फादर हैं, वो डेविड को हमेशा से, तो समझ रहे हैं, वो क्या होता है कि पीटना डंडी से, और इस तरीके से उसके साथ बिहेव करते हैं। अब यहां पर जो है क्या होता है कि क्लारा को एक और जो है बेबी होता है, बेटी होती है उनको। और इस समय क्या होता है कि एक दिन डेविड को जो है मिस्टर मर्डस्टोन पीट रहे हैं, पिटाई कर रहे हैं, और डेविड उनकी डंडी छड़ी पकड़ करके और वहां पर दांत से उनके हाथ में काट लेता है। और इस इंसिडेंट ने क्या किया, मिस्टर मर्डस्टोन को, ठीक है, वो इतना मतलब निर्दयी हो गया इस बात को लेकर के कि उसने क्या किया, डेविड को एक स्कूल में भेज दिया जो कि चलाया जाता है किसके द्वारा? उनका नाम है मिस्टर क्रीकल। मिस्टर क्रीकल जो है इस स्कूल को चलाते हैं और उनके अटेंडेंट हैं मिस्टर टंगे। मिस्टर टंगे, मिस्टर टंगे का नाम भी टंगे इस वजह से क्योंकि उनकी एक टांग नहीं है। वो क्या है आप समझ सकते हैं कि कोरस की तरीके से काम कर रहे हैं। मिस्टर क्रिकल जो भी बातें कहते हैं उसी को मिस्टर टंगे तेज से उसको रिसाइट करने का काम उनका है। अब यहां पर डेविड रह रहा है और डेविड को उसके फादर ने इतना मतलब बुरा मजबूर बना दिया है कि उसके हमेशा जो है सामने पेट पर एक जो है स्लेट रखी जाती है और उस पर लिखा रहता है टेक केयर ऑफ हिम ही बाइट्स। क्या लिखा जाता है? टेक केयर ऑफ हिम ही बाइट्स, ही बाइट्स। ये हालत है। अब डेविड यहां पर रह रहा है, ये उसके दोस्त यहां पर कई सारे बन जाते हैं। ठीक है, अब एक दिन क्या होता है कि एक समाचार आता है घर से, इसके हमेशा समाचार, एक समाचार आता है और उस समाचार में, अच्छा उसके पहले एक छोटी सी घटना और भी होती है कि यहां पर इनकी जो एक मेड है, पेगटी जिसका नाम है, तो ये पेगटी के साथ यूजुअली पेगटी के घर भी जाया करते थे, कभी कभी छुट्टियां बिताने के लिए ये वहां पर जाया करते थे जहां पर एमिली वगैरह इनके दोस्त हुआ करते थे। पेगटी के भाई थे और भाई की बेटी थी वो एमिली, तो वहां पर लोग हमेशा साथ में रहते थे, समझ रहे हैं। और यहां पे क्या होता है कि एक दिन जब वो सलेम हाउस में रह रहे हैं तो एक समाचार आता है और उस समाचार मिस्टर क्रिकल इनको बताते हैं कि तुम्हारी मां अब नहीं रही, तुमको जाना पड़ेगा घर। अब इस बात को लेकर के डेविड बहुत दुखी होता है। वो घर जाता है तो वहां पे देखता है उसकी मां की डेथ हो चुकी है और उसके फादर, उनके फादर की एक सिस्टर भी है, बहन भी है, वो सब जा रहे हैं फ्यूनरल में। पेगटी भी जो कि क्लारा के बहुत क्लोज थी, जाना चाहती है उस फ्यूनरल में क्योंकि वो अपने आप को समझती कि उसके परिवार का एक हिस्सा है। लेकिन क्लारा जो अब नहीं दुनिया में, और इसका जो हस्बैंड है मर्डस्टोन, उनकी जो बहन है, वो बहन क्या करती हैं, पेगटी को रोक देती हैं और कहती हैं ओनली द फैमिली, केवल परिवार आएगा यहां पर, तू नहीं आओगी, यू आर नॉट द पार्ट ऑफ दिस फैमिली। And it was the most shocking incident for Peggotty, and she was so, sad on it that she left her job and went her home. इसके बाद से फिर डेविड की लाइफ का सबसे बुरा फेज चलना स्टार्ट होता है और वही होता है कि डेविड को इनके फादर मिस्टर मर्डस्टोन क्या करते हैं, एक वाइन फैक्ट्री में काम करने के लिए भेज देते हैं, जहां पर छोटा सा बच्चा वाइन की बॉटल्स हैं उन पर लेबल चिपका रहा है। ये हालत है उसकी। उसी समय वहां पर जब वो रह रहा है तो उसकी दोस्ती होती है मिस्टर मिकॉबर से। मिस्टर मिकॉबर उम्र में उससे बहुत बड़े हैं, लेकिन मिस्टर मिकॉबर उसके एक फ्रेंड की तरीके से हैं और इनके भी कई सारे बच्चे हैं। तो मैंने आपको बताया कि मिस्टर मिकॉबर उसके फादर की तरीके से और मिसेस मिकॉबर जो है वो उसकी माँ की तरीके से वहां पे रह रहे हैं, जो कि डेब्ट से और बच्चों की वजह से जो है सफर कर रहे हैं। अब यहाँ पे होता यह है कि डेविड हमेशा मिस्टर मिकॉबर को हेल्प करता है, सपोर्ट करता है, वहां पे बुलाया भी जाता है, एक परिवार की तरीके से वो रह रहे हैं। लेकिन एक दिन क्या होता है कि मिस्टर मिकॉबर को प्रिजन भेज दिया जाता है, जेल भेज दिया जाता है उनके डेब्ट्स के कारण। मिस्टर मिकॉबर क्योंकि वो बहुत ही पढ़े लिखे इंसान हैं, उनके पास लॉ की डिग्री है, सब कुछ है, लेकिन अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट और इन सारी वजहों से उनको वहां पर बाहर भेजा जा रहा है। अब ये सब होना था, ये सब हो रहा है। उसी समय क्या होता है कि एक दिन डेविड सोचता है कि अब उसका कोई नहीं बचा, मिस्टर मिकॉबर तो चले गए हैं जेल, अब वो क्या करेगा। तो वो सोचता है कि मैं यहां से भाग लूं, और वो निकलता है यहां से, एक दुकान पर जाता है, अपने सारे जो है सामान बेचता है और वहां से उसे कुछ पैसे मिलते हैं और कपड़े भी लेता है वो, ताकि वहां पर जा सके। उसका ठिकाना था कहां पर, बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड के पास, दुनिया का एकमात्र रिश्ता जो उसके लिए बचा था अभी। और यहां से वो निकलता है। आप देखेंगे कि जैसे ही वो कपड़े अपने रखता है, एक छोटी सी गाड़ी है ऐसे ही, ठीक है, और एक चोर आता है, उसका सारा कपड़ा और सामान लेकर के भाग जाता है। छोटा सा बच्चा है बेचारा और जा रहा है जो है बुआ के पास में, बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड, और उसके पैर कट गए हैं, पैर से खून निकल रहा है, उसने अपने कपड़ों को फाड़ करके मोजे बना लिए हैं। किसी तरीके से पहुंचता है बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड के पास में, और वहां पर बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड जो थोड़ा सा सीनिक टाइप की महिला है, वो उनको लगा कि कोई जानवर आ गया है उनके बगीचे में, और वो एक छड़ी को लेकर के दौड़ाती हैं, कौन आया है मेरे बगीचे में, और बेचारा डेविड उल्टे लौटने लगता है। कुछ दूर जाता है, फिर से वापस लौट करके आता है और बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड जो झुकी हुई हैं अपने जो है बगीचे में, उनको छू कर कहता है, आंट, आई एम योर नेव्यू डेविड कॉपरफील्ड। और इतना कहना था, उस बच्चे की हालत देख करके बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड बेहोश हो गई। जैसे ही होश में आती हैं तो तुरंत उस बच्चे को ले जाया जाता है और वहां पर बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड के एक बहुत ही फेमस अटेंडेंट है जिनका नाम मिस्टर डिक है। मिस्टर डिक कोई मास्टरपीस लिख रहे हैं, मिस्टर डिक कोई मास्टरपीस लिख रहे हैं और हमेशा कहते हैं कि मैं मास्टरपीस लिखूंगा, लेकिन आज तक उन्हें उसका एक पेन भी, एक पेज भी नहीं लिखा हुआ है और वो उल जलूल की सलाह देने में बहुत आगे थे। इस बच्चे को देखा जा रहा, बच्चा एकदम से गंदा वगैरह खड़ा हुआ है। बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड परेशान है कि इस बच्चे के साथ क्या किया जाए, क्या किया जाए, सोच रहे इधर उधर घूम रहे हैं। मिस्टर डिक, व्हाट यू वांट, क्या चाहते हो तुम, इस बच्चे के साथ क्या किया जाना चाहिए। मिस्टर डिक भी हैरान, वो भी एकदम से पूरा सिर पकड़ घूम, क्या किया जाना चाहिए, क्या किया जाना चाहिए। फाइनली उनको समझ में आया, मैडम सबसे पहले इस बच्चे को नहलाना चाहिए। और बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड इतना गदगद हो गए इस बात को लेकर के कि बताइए, इतनी बड़ी सलाह दे दी है मिस्टर डिक, इस बच्चे को नहलाना चाहिए। पानी गर्म किया गया, आनंद फानंद में जो है बच्चे को नहलाया गया, उसको अच्छे अच्छे कपड़े पहनाए गए। अब ये था कि बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड को लगा कि अब इस बच्चे को पढ़ने भेजना है, पढ़ने भेजना तो कहां पर भेजेंगे, और वो लेकर के जाती हैं उनको एक स्कूल है जो कि चलाया जाता है किसके द्वारा, डॉक्टर स्ट्रॉन्ग के द्वारा। और वहां पर जाकर के उस बच्चे का एडमिशन करवाती हैं और 3 चीजें सिखा के आती हैं डेविड को। नेवर बी फॉल्स, नेवर बी मीन, नेवर बी क्रूएल। ये कहती है, नेवर बी फॉल्स इन एनीथिंग, नेवर बी मीन इन एनीथिंग, नेवर बी क्रूएल इन एनीथिंग, अवॉइड ऑल दिस थिंग्स एंड आई ऑलवेज कैन ट्रस्ट अपॉन यू। कभी गलत मत होना, कभी तुच्छ मत होना और कभी भी गलत मत होना, कभी दुष्ट मत होना और कभी तुच्छ मत होना। इन 3 चीजों को हमेशा अपने से दूर रखना और मैं तुम्हें ताउम्र तुम्हारे ऊपर भरोसा करूंगी। अब यहां पर रह करके डॉक्टर स्ट्रॉन्ग के साथ में डेविड पढ़ने लगते हैं और यहीं पर इनकी बेटी है एग्नेस। बचपन से ही दोनों साथ में रह रहे हैं, डेविड और एग्नेस। ऐसा लगता है कि भाई बहन, और हमेशा उसको बहन कहता भी था। वो धीरे धीरे ये बड़े होते हैं और एक जेंटलमैन के तरीके से पढ़ लिख करके आगे बढ़ते हैं और इस समय इनकी मुलाकात होती है डोरा से। डोरा एक ऐसी लड़की है, ठीक है, जो थोड़ा सा इनको एक इन्फेचुएशन सा हुआ और दोनों की शादी हो जाती है, लेकिन ये शादी अच्छी नहीं चलती है। डोरा बहुत बीमार रहती थी पहले से ही और एक दिन क्या होता है, डोरा की डेथ भी हो जाती है। और उसी समय इस घर में रह रहे हैं यूरिया हीप, इसी बीच में, जो कि क्या है, विलेन है इस नॉवेल के, यूरिया हीप। और यूरिया हीप क्या होते हैं कि उन्होंने डॉक्टर स्ट्रॉन्ग की ही नहीं बल्कि इनकी बुआ बेट्सी ट्रॉटवुड के नाम की जो भी संपत्ति थी उसकी सबकी फर्जी कॉपी जो है बना करके उन्होंने सब पे कब्जा कर लिया हुआ है। और यूरिया हीप जो है वो चाहता है कि एग्नेस भी उससे शादी कर ले। हालांकि एक बहुत बड़ा एज डिफरेंस है, लेकिन फिर भी वो बहुत ही शातिर आदमी है वो। और इसी समय मिस्टर मिकॉबर वो छूट करके आ गए हैं और ये सारे लोग जाते हैं मिस्टर मिकॉबर के पास एक लॉ की एडवाइस के लिए। और मिस्टर मिकॉबर, ठीक है, यूरिया हीप को पकड़ करके इतनी तरीके की दलीलें देते हैं कि यूरिया हीप जो है एकदम से शॉक्ड रह जाता है और फाइनली उसको पुलिस को सौंप दिया जाता है इस चार्ज में कि उसने फोर्जरी करके, जालसाजी करके सारी चीजें बनाई हुई थी। डेविड कॉपरफील्ड अब अकेले हैं, एग्नेस है। ये होता है कि एग्नेस से वो शादी कर लें। एग्नेस कहती तुम तो मुझे हमेशा अपना बहन कहते थे, तुम कैसे करोगे। तो एग्नेस को देख कहते हैं नहीं, भले ही ऐसा रहो बट आई ऑलवेज लव्ड यू एंड एडमायर्ड यू एग्नेस। और ये था, उसके बाद दोनों लोगों की शादी भी हो जाती है। बहुत सारे इंसिडेंट्स हैं जो नॉवेल से मैं स्किप कर रहा हूं क्योंकि उतना टाइम नहीं है, नॉवेल बहुत ही लेंदी है। लेकिन ये एक छोटी सी स्टोरी है जहां पर क्या होता है कि अब आगे चल के डेविड के काफी सारे बच्चे भी होते हैं और बूढ़ा डेविड है जो अपनी कहानी को बता रहा है। बहुत सारी अच्छी नॉवेल्स हैं। डिकेंस की ग्रेट एक्सपेक्टेशंस की भी स्टोरी बहुत अच्छी है। अ टेल ऑफ टू सिटीज की भी स्टोरी बहुत अच्छी है, लेकिन वो फिर से कभी मैं अलग से उनका एक वीडियो बनाऊंगा। तो ये जो क्लास है स्पेशली इट वाज बेस्ड ऑन चार्ल्स डिकेंस एंड हिज नॉवेल्स। So in my next class, I will deal some other authors also who are of Victorian age. So it was all about today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.